The 24-hour smile experiment. It is pretty much exactly what it sounds like, and today we're going to break down this absolutely fascinating personal journey. So let's just get right to it. The big question that started this whole thing. What really happens if you decide to break one of the biggest unwritten social rules out there and just smile at every single stranger you pass for an entire day? And that's exactly what one person did. They decided to find out for themselves, essentially turning their everyday life into a living, breathing social science lab. And we get to follow their story. Okay, Section 1, the 24-hour smile experiment. The plan here was, simple on the surface. But the goal was actually pretty deep. It was all about testing the friction of human connection, something that can feel pretty rare in our modern, often isolated world. Now, this whole experiment wasn't just a random idea. It was actually inspired by a classic psychological theory called the facial feedback hypothesis. The basic concept is kind of mind-bending, right? It's not just, I'm happy, so I smile. It suggests the reverse could be true, that the physical act of smiling could actually send signals back to your brain and make you feel happy. And really, this was the whole point. As our experimenters said themselves, they wanted to test the friction of human connection. I mean, think about it. We're constantly surrounded by people, right? On the street, in the subway, but we often feel completely alone. So they wanted to see, what does it actually take to create a little spark? All right, Section 2, first contact, awkwardness and breakthroughs. And yeah, as you can probably guess, the day kicked off with a huge dose of pure, unadulterated awkwardness, long before any of those breakthroughs started happening. So the very first test was the elevator. And this story is the perfect example of something sociologists call civil inattention. You know the drill, right? You get in, you give a quick glance, and then you immediately look at your phone or the floor to show, hey, I'm not a threat. Well, by holding his gaze and smiling, our guy completely shattered that unwritten contract. He forced a micro interaction, and it left his neighbor, a Mr. Henderson, just totally baffled. What then? A breakthrough. A woman walking her dog smiled back, like instantly. And this is the magic of mirror neurons at work. See, these are brain cells that fire both when you do something and when you see someone else do it. So when she saw a smile, her brain basically mirrored that action and the feeling that goes with it. It's an involuntary, empathetic response, like a tiny, silent neurological handshake. So, Section 3 is the science of a smile, because it turns out not all smiles are created equal. And as the morning dragged on, it became super clear that the effort involved in this experiment was very, very real. I mean, by 10 a.m., his face literally ached, and he was experiencing something called emotional labor. You usually hear about this in service jobs, right? It's that exhausting work of managing your own feelings just to make someone else feel a certain way. And doing it voluntarily with every single person, it was unbelievably draining. And this is where we really have to get into the nitty-gritty of smiles. You've got the Pan Am smile. That's the polite, fake one, the one that only uses your mouth. But then there's the Duchenne smile. That's the real deal. It's genuine, it's spontaneous, and it engages the muscles all the way up around your eyes, giving you those little crow's feet. You can't really fake it, and our brains are hardwired to tell the difference. And we see this play out in a coffee shop, where giving a real Duchenne smile to a super tired barista just completely changed the whole vibe of the interaction. Okay, now we're getting into Section 4, navigating the social minefield. Because the experiment quickly hit some really complex territory. It ran into a major snag, and that was the challenge of smiling while male. And this quote really says it all. A man smiling at a woman on the street is a loaded gesture. You have to understand, for a lot of women just trying to get through their day, an unsolicited smile from a strange man isn't just a friendly hello. It can feel predatory or like it's leading to something unwanted. It's a gesture that is just loaded with potential threat. So to get around this, our narrator actually developed a whole 3-step technique to signal that he wasn't a threat. He called it the glance, the smile, the avert. Step 1, make really brief eye contact. Step 2, offer a quick, closed-mouth smile. And Step 3, and this is the most important part, immediately look away. See, breaking eye contact first is a way of signaling, I'm not aggressive, and it made all the difference in turning a potentially threatening gesture into a safe one. And all of this leads us to Section 5, the mind-bending turning point. Because this is where we hit the absolute lowest point of the day, right before a truly incredible psychological shift happened. It's that classic fake it till you make it, except he actually made it. So picture this. He's on the subway, which is like the ultimate test of ignoring other people. He smiles at a woman, and she reacts with just a glare of pure alarm. Now, that feeling of rejection, that wasn't just in his head. It's wild, but neuroscience has shown that social rejection lights up the exact same part of your brain as physical pain. He literally felt the sting of that glare. But then, after hours and hours of physically forcing his face into a smile, something amazing happened. There's a theory for this. It's called the somatic marker hypothesis. The idea is that your brain is always checking in with your body to figure out how you should be feeling. And after hours of his facial muscles being in a happy position, his brain basically just threw in the towel and said, "All right, fine, I guess we're happy now." Which brings us to our final section, the final tally and truth. So after a full 24 hours on this emotional roller coaster, what did the data actually reveal about human connection in a big city? Okay, let's look at the raw numbers. Over the course of the day, he smiled at about 400 people. A whopping 60% of them just ignored him. Only 20% actually smiled back. Now, if you look at that on paper, a 20% success rate, that sounds like a total failure. But hang on, let's reframe that for a second. That 20% isn't just a statistic. It represents 80 separate moments. That's 80 times that a positive, silent, neurological handshake was shared with a total stranger. 80 times that the bubble of city anonymity was just pierced for a moment. And this really gets to the core of what he learned. The experiment revealed these two truths that seem to completely contradict each other. The first is that our social defenses, our walls, they are incredibly thick. We're really good at putting them up. But the second truth is that those same walls are also shockingly fragile, and they can be brought down in an instant by a genuine smile. And maybe the most powerful part of this whole story is summed up in this final quote. He said, "In the dark of my bedroom, with absolutely no one around to see it, I was still smiling." Think about that. The experiment was over. All the effort, the exhaustion, it was done. But the physical act had actually rewired his internal feelings. The smile wasn't fake anymore. It had become real. So that leaves us with one final thought, a question to ask ourselves. After seeing how something as simple as a smile can completely dismantle these defenses, well, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Just how fragile are our own social walls?
Please like and subscribe.